Hello, it's your average Haskell girl Tuula showing off Space Garden. So, what I have been doing this week? I made bunch of animations, like now you can actually climb up and down the ladders and there's an animation for that. You can jump from the ladder and there's a little animation there. And if you fall high enough, there's this funny one where there's not Tweety birds but some stars or something flying around the character's head. And then you can actually plant things now. You have this water hose thingy that just puts a random plant. Originally I wanted to have a slight delay there so that there would first you would get grass and then the plant would start growing there, but that didn't materialize this time. And if you jump from really high, here you can see the screaming animation maybe a little bit better. But that's what I did this week, and I'm actually going to call this, well, can't really say that this is a game, but a demo, tutorial, or learning experience, whatever you want to call. I'm going to call this done for now and start looking for the next thing to create. It's probably going to be maybe something to do with tiles. Not 100% sure yet. I have to play around a bit with ideas and think about how big thing I want to create next, because small things like these, like small, took several weeks to write, I think a month. Like small things like these are fun to create, but still it would be nice to create something big, but then you start thinking that creating something big takes a long time, and I don't really know. But that's what you can do in the game now, and that's all you are going to be able to do in the game now. You can grow Space Garden. That was the goal. That has been done now. You can walk and admire your pretty plants. So what else can you want from a game like this? So how did I do this? The biggest part is probably this water thing. Like I did some. Uh, let's see here. I did some structuring here. Here's the player state that tells what the player is doing currently. And it used to have doubles to indicate direction, so I replaced them with the horizontal direction and vertical direction, and climbing has a maybe vertical direction because you might be in a ladder but you're not currently moving anywhere, so then the direction will be nothing, you're just hanging out there. And the double for the falling only has one direction, down obviously, but that double tells how far, or actually what's the y coordinate where you started to fall, because first 31 pixels you are falling relaxedly, and after that the screaming animation start, and when you land, if you are screaming, then you are going to get that Tweety bird animation, and you are then uh, transitioning to the sitting state instead of idle fall state. And watering, of course, you are spraying water with your watering can. But other thing here is that we have this gigantic move player function that does basically everything what player can do. They can fall, they can climb up or down, they can walk sideways, they can land, they can stand still, or they can water. So if the player is pressing the spacebar, they are not at the ladder. I don't want to allow player to spray water from the ladders. And then yeah, so if they are watering, there's no ladder at the current location, then we are going to call the water function here, which is found from here. And here I had to do some restructuring the code. These actions used to return a couple of doubles telling that this is where the player is now and this is what the state is. But since the watering can change the state, it can add plants there. We have to return the state from here. And because we are using random numbers, it's rand monad that we are using here. So run c double double player state level. This is starting to get really long. I was thinking that I could return just the game state, but then decided that maybe I still want to keep things like they are now. So return double of things that changed or can change. So we are returning here this one. Player location doesn't change anywhere. They are watering to the direction. The direction depends on the state. Like if they just started watering, this is the first time this function is called when the user presses watering button, then they are either walking or standing. And depending on that, we are going to say that, okay, you're watering to left or right. If they are already watered, then we are just keeping the direction as it is. And for all the other cases, if we happen to end up here, the player is going to start watering to the right. It's an arbitrary decision, but any direction is good as anything here. And new level that we are returning here is the old level where we add a plant. So we are going to pass the current level, player location and the direction. And here we are doing some hard-coded values. These are the IDs of the items that they can add. These are the IDs of the grass that can appear on the level. Here we are taking the player coordinates and turning them into the tile coordinates. This PDX is a plant coordinate in the x direction, so it's the player coordinate -1 or +1 depending on which direction the player is looking at. And then getting a random item from this list and this list. This is the reason we are using the randg. And real plant ID. So we are checking, now that we have ID, we are checking if we can actually plant in these coordinates. And same with the grass, can add grass these coordinates. We are either giving the ID, just ID, or we are returning nothing. We are going to have a look at those just in a second. And then the new level, like this function is gigantic. We are taking the old level, focusing to the level plants, changing them with this function. So if we have nothing, we are not going to change anything. If we have an ID, then we have to check, hey, is this ID the bottom of the tree? If it is, then we are going to add bottom of the tree. We are updating that unboxed vector. We are going to add bottom of the tree to the coordinates, and then we are going to add the top of the tree one step up from the previous spot. The level has been constructed in a way that there is no one level, one tile high nukes anywhere. So wherever player can put a plant, they can put a whole tree there. That's why we don't have to check anything here. But if it's not a bottom of the tree 117, then we are just going to add that thing here into the coordinates. And the crash is the same thing, except that we don't have to do any checks. We are just going to, with nothing, we are not going to change anything. And if we have ID, then we are just going to update it. I'm sure all of this could be cleaned up and made much prettier, but this is how it is now. And adding a plant or a grass, basically we are just going to check that wherever we are wanting to add our thing, it's either empty tile or rising ramp or falling ramp, because ramps and ground are on the same level. Then we are going to check that there is no grass there. In case of grass, in case of plants, we are going to check that there's no plant, because if we would be doing this check, then the player could keep the watering button pressed and the plant and grass would keep flickering until they release. And at that point, the change would have been, at that point, they would get some random. As long as they keep space pressed, they're going to get a random plant added on that spot, and it of course causes flickering. Even funnier it is if they are adding a plant and first they add a tree and then they add a mushroom, then the top of the tree is not going to be removed, so then they have a top of the tree hanging on top of a mushroom. So that's why we are checking here. And then we are also checking that the tile below is not an empty tile or ramp, meaning then it's ground or it's a bridge. You can actually plant stuff on the bridge currently, but yeah, should change that. And that's how adding the plants work now. And the random item is just a simple thing that it takes a list of something and it returns a random item from there. We are just checking what's the length of the items and getting a random number from that range and returning item from that index. Not particularly sophisticated, but gets stuff done. And that's how the adding things work. Like here is the climb function, and here you can see that here we have to return the level 2, and we are just returning the same unchanged data map. And here, because that makes it easier, because here at the move player, which does all the player stuff, we can return the return of these functions directly without having to do anything with them. Notice that here climb didn't have anything to do with random numbers, so that's why we have to do climb returns pure value, so we have to return here. Watering does return run G double player state level, so that we can return like this directly. And this one of course is called from here, simulate, that is at the run G game data. So we have to call it with this arrow notation thingy. It's not pure function in a sense as the, for example, desired direction is. And then the simulate, when it's called from the event handler, we of course have to list IO eval run IO it, so that we can get the result of that simulation and then return that, because here we are switching from the run G monad into Rio up monad. And this one hops into here, but here we don't see anything about random numbers anymore. Here we are already in the Rio monad. So that's how it does things. That's how it's going to do things. Probably not going to add, change, or delete anything from the game. It's a demo. It's done now. I did package all the little art I made and put it into the into the open game art if you want to have a used, if you for some reason want to take those and use those as a basis of your own program. They are there, free to use. But now I have to start thinking what I'm going to do next.